Okay, so somebody asked how my algae scrubber works. It's a do-it-yourself algae scrubber, and I'm just going to give you a quick overview. I will tell you that my stand is structurally sound, but the facade that's supposed to be on it is unfinished, so never mind the curtain that blocks all of the sump stuff. But anyway, let me pull the curtain back and I'll show you how it works. And we're back. So this 210 gallon tank with 25 or so fish in it is being filtered by a sump. This is a dual overflow tank. It's usually used in saltwater setups, but if you look underneath, there's plumbing that supplies water to this sump, and there's a pump in here that returns water back to the tank. But there's also 3 siphons that connect my main 40-gallon sump to this contraption, which was kind of an experiment, but as it turns out, it works quite well. So the way this works is there are siphons. You can see in the back these white PVC pipes right there supply water on this side of this 20-gallon tank. The water flows this direction where there is a return pump in a little box here that is protected by egg crate and some filter foam material to keep the light off of the pump so that I don't have algae growing inside this compartment. As you can see, it's pretty dark down there. That pump then returns water through this line right here, back up on the back side of the tank at that pump outlet. Well, it's kind of hard to see. The fish think it's feeding time, but you get the idea. I've got 2 super cheap, maybe $15 or $20 a piece grow lights that I found at Walmart, literally just sitting on top of the tank, literally propped up on a piece of scrap plywood. Inside the algae scrubber, I have these little kind of U-shaped things right here that are a plastic knitting mesh I found at Hobby Lobby, and basically it just gives me an area to grow algae that I can then take out and scrape the algae off of once every month or 2. As you can see, I have some scraps of PVC pipe in all of these because, as it turns out, the mesh that I bought floats, and you really don't want that material floating. You want it sunk down at the bottom so that you can have as many square inches of mesh exposed to light. And that's about it. It's not pretty, but it took my water change frequency from once every 6 days to about once every 14 days, and that's based on how many nitrates are being produced in the tank. Previously, I was doing a 75% water change every 6 or 7 days. After a water change, my nitrates would be around 10 parts per million, and after 6 or 7 days, they would be up to 40 parts per million. Now it looks like by the time I get to 40 parts per million, it's been 12 to 14 days. And after a water change, I get back down to 10. So effectively, the rate of increase of nitrates has been reduced. And I will say this experiment I thought was a total waste of time for the first 2 months because it took quite a while to get this algae colony thoroughly established. I have 2 grow lights now. When I only had 1, it wasn't growing algae fast enough. Those lights run on a timer that you can see plugged in behind my sump. That timer has the lights running for 18 hours a day, I believe. And when it's time to clean this material, this mesh knitting material, I pull it out and set it in a cookie tray or a cookie baking sheet in the sink, and I scrape all of that plastic mesh with a credit card. And what I end up with is a softball-sized clump of algae, which is basically fish poop that has been turned into plants. It's not a perfect solution. There are pre-made algae scrubbers that are designed to be installed in tanks, but I figured I already had the tank, I already had scraps of PVC. All I needed was a pump that sits in there. I want to say I spent about $50 on it, and I had the space to install it, so it's worth a shot. And now I get to do water changes about every 2 weeks instead of about every week. And as you can see, a lot of these fish, if they'll hold still for me, are in the easily 6 to 7 inch range. I would guess my biggest fish is probably maybe this guy right here. He's an insignis, or this Taiwan reef here is probably close to 7 inches. I know my Compressicep's a little over 7, but he doesn't quite have the same bulk as some of my other fish. This might be my biggest fish. He's supposed to be a red empress. Not very red, not a great example, but still lots and lots of very large fish. My smallest fish in this tank is probably going to be this little zebra obliquidens, and even he's coming close to 5 inches, if not a little over. So there's a lot of biological load in this tank, and I don't have to do water changes every 6 days like I used to. Hope that helps.